Who was watching me from the dark? It was a chilly October evening when I decided to take a walk around my quiet neighborhood. I often enjoyed the solitude, especially when the leaves crunched under my feet, creating a symphony of autumn sounds. Little did I know this night would change everything. As I strolled down a familiar path, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked at the end of my street. It was an old sedan, dusty and dilapidated, with tinted windows that made it hard to see inside. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just someone visiting a neighbor. But as I continued my walk, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. When I turned around to head home, I noticed the car had moved closer, now parked directly across from my house. My heart raced. I tried to convince myself it was a coincidence, but I couldn't help but feel uneasy. I hurried inside and locked the door, trying to shake off the paranoia. The next day, I noticed the same car still parked there. I was now convinced something was off. I mentioned it to my roommate, Sarah, but she laughed it off, saying I was overreacting. Still, I couldn't get the feeling out of my head. That night, I decided to stay up late, watching TV in the living room. Around 2 a.m., I heard a faint noise outside. My heart pounded as I peered through the curtains, and that's when I saw the figure. A man was leaning against the car, staring at my house. I panicked and quickly called Sarah, who groggily picked up. "There's someone outside," I whispered, trying not to alert the stranger. She told me to call the police, but I was too scared to make a sound. Instead, I grabbed a kitchen knife and positioned myself near the front door, my pulse racing. Minutes felt like hours as I watched the man. He seemed to be waiting, almost as if he knew I was watching him. Eventually, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows. I thought I was safe, but the fear lingered. The next morning, I reported the incident to the police. They assured me they would keep an eye on the neighborhood. Days passed, and I hoped I'd never see that man again. But he returned, night after night, always lurking near the same spot. Finally, one evening, I decided to confront my fear. I called Sarah and asked her to come home early. Together, we sat on the porch, pretending to be casual but on high alert. As expected, the man appeared again, this time standing closer to the house. With a surge of courage, I called out, "Can I help you?" He turned, looked straight at me with a blank expression, and then walked away, back to his car. We both felt a chill run down our spines, and I quickly called the police again. This time, they arrived just as he was getting into his car. They questioned him, and I could see him gesturing wildly, claiming he was just looking for a friend who lived nearby. The police seemed skeptical but let him go with a warning. I felt a mix of anxiety and relief. After that night, the man never returned, and the car was gone for good. However, the experience left me shaken.